Hello and welcome to the Digital Classroom. I am Jamie Benedict here with more tools and techniques for the digital curriculum. In this episode, I want to take a look at the combination of grades, feedback, and learning, and talk about some of the teaching philosophy that goes into this. So, the first thing I want to pose as a question is, do grades reflect learning? So in essence, do points equal success? Because at this point, we have trained students and really we've trained parents that the only thing that matters are the points. It doesn't matter if they've learned anything. It doesn't matter if they're experiencing some success, if they're gaining something out of this. As long as the points are there, that's all that a lot of our students and parents care about. They want to see points. And I am not a huge fan of the way that we grade and how grades are done. I'm not a fan of this system. I know that might be an unpopular attitude to take. It might be the wrong approach to take in this day and age and the way that we handle things in education. But to me, it's more important that they learn the subject. And I tell the students that right off the bat. As a marketing teacher, I fell in love with the subject way back when I first took my first marketing class in high school. I fell in love with the topic. I wanted to go into marketing from that point on. And I did not get really good grades in high school. I did not get straight A's. That was not my thing. I did well in my business classes. I did well in my graphic design classes. I did well in PE because those were things that I was good at. I was not good at academics overall. And so a lot of times for me, the points were the detriment. You know, I still think that I know history pretty well. I know government pretty well. I love those subjects, but I didn't do well in those subjects in high school because of the way the grades were set up and the way the point system worked. It wasn't that I didn't learn those topics, it's that the point system didn't demonstrate that I learned those topics. And so as a teacher, when I approach this, I take the strategy right off the bat that points do not equal success. It doesn't matter what points I put in. I wish I didn't have to put any points into gradebook, to be honest with you. I would love just to be able to talk to students and let's get through learning. Let's really see how this stuff works, and let's engage with it as best we can. I know that's not the system. It's unfortunate, in my opinion, that that's not the system that we have, but it is what it is, and we have to work within there. But that doesn't mean that I still can't focus on the learning and de-emphasize the points. From my class perspective, I have always taken late work from students. Always. It's more important to me to have a student do an assignment and get something out of it than to not do it and learn absolutely nothing. Even if that means more work for me, which usually it does. But even before the technology, I did this. With the technology, to me, it's a lot easier. I can leave assignments open. I can leave quizzes open. I can leave video lessons open. I can leave all that stuff open. And if the students want to learn it, they want to go back and prepare for it, then why would I stop them from doing that? And there's no reward if they're not going to get the points, because again, we go back to points equal success because that's where the grade is. And that's what the parents want too. Can my student make up this work? That's all they ask. Do you think my student's learning anything in your class? Never get asked that question. I always get asked the question, can my student make up this work? So I always let kids make up the work. That's fine, because I think even by doing it, they're going to get something out of it. They're going to learn something from it. And to me, that's the goal. So when I grade big assignments in particular, my focus isn't on how many points the assignment should be worth. My focus is on, okay, what do I want them to get out of this? And then I create a rubric, or I get an idea in my head, okay, the effort versus the output, what should those points be? And that's kind of how I create my point system. I do everything on total points. I don't weight anything. And I just try to balance, this is how much effort you should have put in. Here's how many points you should earn if you complete this work. So my focus on grading then is going to be on the feedback. On smaller assignments, a rubric is great, maybe a couple of comments. And we looked at that in an earlier video where we looked at specifically Canvas in the LMS. How can you set up a rubric? How do you type in comments and give those back to your students? And that's easy to do. I can give 10 out of 10 and still give feedback to a kid that says, hey, this is something I think you need to consider with that. And I then go back with the assignments and I tell them, okay, here, look, I left comments for you. I know a lot of times if they see the score was 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 23 out of 25, whatever it might be, they probably aren't looking at the comments too closely, but I'm trying to get them to see things through the eyes of the comments, right? I want them to look and say that the comments are most important to me. And so that's how I'm going to find out where I stand on this. I don't care to give the kid 10 out of 10 and then tell them, by the way, this is something else you might want to consider. I can get away with that because marketing is subjective. And I can say, well, yours is a good idea, but you might also want to look at this side. And somewhere in there, they're still getting all their points, but I still think that they can learn even in all of that. I also want to look and say, hey, look, you got 3 out of 10 here. And here's why I gave you 3 out of 10. And I think you can do better in these areas with your understanding of the topic. If you would like to resubmit, I will be happy to regrade it. And that gives them the opportunity to go back. Yes, they're doing it so they can get more points, but I'm getting out of it more effort. I'm getting out of it more appropriate output. I'm getting the learning that I want out of there. Who cares if they had to redo the assignment? It doesn't matter to me. Now, having said all of that, I understand that not every class can be run that way. I understand that not every class should be run that way. I am not trying to tell you how you should grade your students. What you do in your classroom is how you need to run your classroom, and you get the most out of your students that way, hopefully. So whatever works for you, you make it work. I'm telling you my philosophy and the way that I've approached it so that I can share, here's how I think some other things can be done. Here's how I think you can get more out of these kids. And hopefully somewhere in here, we find a way to really get learning done from our students. So I want to focus a little bit more on feedback today. And I'm going to show you another way to really give detailed feedback. So let's talk about feedback in general, first of all. I think the most important thing is that you are specific with your feedback. So be specific. Great job is not enough for feedback on this. Even if a kid gets 10 out of 10, I think there's probably something that they could still learn. Even if a student gets 1 out of 10, I think there's something they can still learn. So what are we giving as feedback in there? Focus on the positives and the negatives. Make sure you're telling both sides of this for students. Be timely in your feedback. The sooner you can give feedback, the better. And I know with bigger projects, sometimes that is very hard to do. And that's one of the things that I want to focus on in this particular video today, is a faster way to get through some of your feedback. Be goal-oriented in your feedback. How is the student progressing towards what you want them to accomplish? Where are they now? Where's the steps to get to where you want them to be? And then finally, I think you need to be very careful in your tone with this. Students today, because we can write out feedback, and they are very used to social media where tone is interpreted on the reader's side. It might not be how we intend it, but when they read it, they read tone into it. That's the same with emails. It's the same with their social media. It's the same with text messages. We need to be careful with the tone that we use. It's one of the reasons that a lot of school districts told teachers to stop using red pens when you grade. The red pen became the negative for all things grading. And I know teachers used it not necessarily because it was red and we wanted to show the negative side of it. They used red because students didn't use red. So it stood out. When I put comments on a paper and I used red, it stood out for students that said, hey, here's where my comments are. Here's what I think you need to fix. So we put a tone essentially to red pen. We created a tone, and schools started saying, hey, stop using red pens when you're grading these kids because it's becoming negative for them. And we don't want this to become a negative. We want to focus on both. So we're going to be careful with our tone. And that's one of the other things that I want to talk about in this particular episode. So let's take a look at my screen here. So I am in grading, and I'm doing right now a big project with students, and I wanted to give feedback. So I'm doing group work. We are face-to-face and remote. So we have a hybrid setup here. It's hard to give feedback to all of the students at one time because it's going to be interpreted differently through the camera, through the microphones, through the tone that comes through on those sides. Not to mention they also cannot see my face, so they can't read the facial expressions as part of the tone there. So I want to give feedback that allows the students to understand exactly what I was looking at. So I picked this assignment that was submitted to me. Right now, the students are doing a survey, and we did it in a Google form, so that's what was submitted here. I have 50 groups in my classes right now that I am trying to grade and provide feedback for. So I have a rubric on this, and I was typing in comments, and I started typing, and I type pretty fast. I type 60 words a minute, 65 words a minute. I'm pretty good. I've taught typing a long time, so I know how to type. But I started looking at all this, and I was like, good grief, look at all the feedback that I was trying to provide here. And I thought, if I had to do this for every single group, this is going to take me a week. There's no way that I can type with this quantity of feedback and reach all of my groups quickly in this. So I know that Canvas has a couple of tools here. One of their tools is right down here, and it shows up under the comments, and it's a speech to text tool. So when I hit record, I can just speak my comments and have Canvas type them out for me. And I want to be very deliberate in the way that I speak so that Canvas picks up all of the comments correctly the first time. And once I'm done, I just close that out. And now here's my comment. I can go back in. I can capitalize. I can put punctuation on here. And then I can click submit and leave that comment for the group. Speaking deliberately on that is faster than typing. But at the same time, I thought it was still slowing me down to do that, because then I was going back and going, did it catch everything correctly? All right, let me put grammar in or punctuation in where I need it. Let me get everything done correctly there. So I tried not to do that one. The other option is a media comment. And with the media comment, you can see my microphone is already on, and depending on how many microphones you have connected, you can choose the microphone that you want to use, and I'll leave this one connected. I can also pick which webcam I want to use, and I can turn on my webcam so that the students can see me giving feedback. Now they can see my facial expressions, they can hear the tone of my voice, and I can record everything that I want to record right here. For me, that requires sitting in this room. I've got my green screen obviously behind me, but I can't put a background on there. And I can provide all of my feedback this way. And once I hit start recording, it gives me the little countdown. I am providing my comments. I'm giving the feedback here. The problem with this for me was that once I'm in this mode, I can't scroll and talk about this. So I wanted to talk about each question in their survey and give them feedback and say, here's what I think, here's what I like, here's what you should change, and so on. And then when you're done, you click finish. It uploads this. If you click save, it sends that comment in there. If you don't like the comment, you can click start over and you can provide that feedback. So again, great way to have my face frozen there. It's a beautiful picture of me. Again, we can give that feedback. We can focus on the tone of our voice and our facial expressions so that students can see what we were thinking there. And now there's not a misinterpretation. Now they can understand, okay, here's what I'm being told. This is what I need to fix. It also gives me a much faster way to provide this feedback. So I started grading yesterday and I did 50 groups. I went through all 50. I wasn't able to see all of them. I ended up recording probably about 35 or so, maybe 30 out of the 50. And I was able to record very quickly. I probably did all of them in 2 hours to get through 50 groups of students, which to me is not that bad. But I changed the method that I did this because I wanted to scroll through. And so what I did was I used PowerPoint and I created a bunch of slides, basically copied them straight down. And instead of using the Canvas grade recording feature, I came into PowerPoint here and I did insert, media, audio, and then did record audio. And I clicked on the record audio button and you start to get a timer. This counts how many seconds you're recording. And then I could scroll through and say, here's what I liked about your first question. Here's what I liked about your second question. All right, your third question, I would change this. Fourth question, I think that's a really good question and very relevant. It's perfect for this survey. And you go through it, and I went all the way down through this entire survey, giving the students feedback. And it takes 4 minutes, 5 minutes to do all of that. Once I'm done, I click OK. And now I get this little media icon here. And you can leave it right where it is. It centers it on the screen. I always do, for these, I do a blank slide. So I change my layout to title only. That way I know where this is. And I just right click on this and do save media as. And I keep a folder called audio feedback and I call this one group 3. And I click save. And then when I get ready to insert this, I go back to Canvas. I click on this media and I click upload media, select audio file, and attach group 3. Click open and it attaches my file there. Now I'm going to delete that out because I didn't actually provide that feedback to the students. But this is a much faster system for me, because it was easier for me to speak and talk to the students in a casual tone. It allowed me to give the positives and negatives very quickly. It allowed me to be very specific in what I wanted the students to fix with their assignment. And as soon as I posted these and I finished all the grades, then I sent a comment to all of the students that said, all of the grades are done. I've attached media files for your feedback. Take a listen to what I had to offer. And if you want to make corrections, then you can resubmit and I will gladly regrade this. So right away, students were already in there and looking at this. I know that I'll have to go back in and take this up with some other kids and tell them, that here's how you find your comments. Here's what you need to do to fix this. But to me, this was a much more efficient way to do this for a large project. It would not be efficient to do this on a small assignment. This is going to be for something that is a lot of detail, where you've got maybe multiple steps and you want to make sure they get this step right first before they go on to the next stage. And in order to do that, we've got to be able to be quick about that. So we can't wait a week to give them their feedback. We have to hit it right away and post that for the students. And tomorrow morning when I go into the classroom, I will show the students, here's where you can find your feedback, here's where you're looking for comments, here's what you can do to play this. It's just such a handy feature, and another great way to show students the technology that's available, to show students what they need to do to improve very quickly, and to get students on the right track for the rest of the assignment or for the project that you're working on. The technology that we have available today has allowed us to provide specific feedback in a timely manner that is goal-oriented, helping our students get to where we want them to be in learning. And after all, that's what this is all about. It also allows us to control the tone of our message, which is really important when trying to communicate with high school students. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and like and follow my Facebook page. I'm Jamie Benedict for the Digital Classroom, and until next time, class is dismissed.